All right, hello and welcome everyone. Doug here with the linkedlist.com. Let me welcome you back to another edition of Stock Market Mutterings, where I always say this is where I'll do my best to take a grope in the murkiness, try to make some sense out of the stock market for you, provide you with some quality trade setups, and I do hope in the end, whatever I say here helps you make better trading decisions and put some money in your pocket. As always, if you guys need help, feel free. Somewhere on the screen will appear a link. Click on that link every day that the market is open. I am trading live and you're welcome to trade live with me. Now, we got ourselves a little problems. We got ourselves some problems here technically. I'm going to say technically, listen, air quotes, because sometimes technical analysis doesn't mean crap because the market can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, but it is very reliable. And we're reaching some areas here. And we're seeing some things in this market that we haven't seen in a while in the behavior. So when people are looking for market corrections, market crashes, market retracements, market tempo, the way the market behaves, switching from one type of behavior to another type of behavior, is what gives you these signals. That's what we kind of rely on as technical analysis traders. We're looking for signals to help us understand where the market might move next. That means in the grand scheme of things, it might not mean anything at all, but in the short term, when you're trading for short-term profits, that's what you're looking at. Now, one of the things that we go back to, we'll start with the SPY as usual, but one of the things that we were talking about here, specifically that I was speaking about in these last market mutterings, was when we had that first piece of a correction, it was first the lack of that thing to immediately snap back to an all-time high. So when we kind of go back for several months here, every time the market had any sort of red to it, any sort of a smell, like the hint of selling, damn thing just snapped right back up. Not only did it snap back up, it ends up making another high. That was the behavior. So what happens is this time it rolls over. People dive in, the dip buyers, the BTFD crowd, you come in, they get barbecued, and that's it. It just rolls over. Now, since then, we've spent about a week and a half here of trading in a very tight range, unable to claim just your short-term moving averages, your 10 moving average, your 20 moving average, these short-term technical indicators that really kind of represent the lines from bullish to bearish. It can't even do that. The second clue for me was the 9/11 approach, where they're just saying here from experience that this is one of the most emotional trading sessions. It's like a holiday of trading, and it's mostly bullish. Like I said, 11 of the last 12 sessions have been bullish. It gaps up, but it can barely hold. And that's another tempo change that you're seeing here, is the gap up and the immediate fade. Like the market cannot build and just melt up. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be a one-off day, or maybe a couple of days of rally. We've seen that. But I think we're not going to see what we were seeing in the last couple of months. And we also are entering, I'm not trying to be political here, but I'm just trying to state things that matter when it comes to all of us making money. And that is, we're entering this very important election coming up here, and there's all kinds of side and division on both ends. Again, this is not political, but it does affect our money. And I think you might have some pre-election jitters here. It doesn't matter what side of the fence that you're on. What matters is there's probably going to be that. And historically, as we enter elections, the September and the October prior to elections are typically bearish in themselves because there could always be an administration change. I mean, this is just markets and political climate. And if you're going to trade long-term, you have to understand political climates and how they impact short-term markets. Again, if you're an investor, none of this means a damn. Just buy yourself some stocks and hold on to it. But for you short-term traders out there, which was what we are, trading for profits, I just wanted to share those things with you. So when you kind of combine that, and you can combine a market that went from all-time high, you can combine heavy record insider selling on many of these stocks, man, I tell you what, it smells like stink. It smells stinky. But it's the market, it can do whatever you want. So when I'm looking technically here, again, Friday, you broke another level. I mean, we broke support, the short-term support that was holding here in the SPY. And when you look down here, you don't have, I'm going to open up this chart so you guys can see it. You don't have a whole lot of space. One of the things I got to work on is how to use a mouse here. Okay. You don't have a whole lot of space. Your next support is all the way down here in the 318s, 319s, in this little cluster mess right here. I mean, it looks like a foregone conclusion. You got a couple of bounces downside. You're going to hit that pretty quick. And then, of course, you got the 200-day moving average. So I'm not saying, guys, we're going to have a market crash. I'm not going to do that BS kind of crystal ball shit. I don't got time for that. I'm just trying to make bucks like the rest of you guys. I'm trying to, what is the best freaking trade I can make right now? What is the best thing I can do right now? You got to be careful to the long side. You got to cut your risk here in this type of environment. You can't be trading big position sizes and this kind of crap. You're going to get volatility. It's still here. Look how volatile back and forth. You go from this little trickle, melt, small, I'm bullish, everything by the dip, we're all getting rich, look at me. And then all of a sudden you come back at these wide range expanded candles. It takes a couple months for that to happen. You got to learn to deal with it. I'm thinking we got to go a little bit lower. I'm not saying we're going to crash, but I do think you're going to get a little bit of milk to the downside. And then you'll probably see some political pumping. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So be careful. You've seen the same thing here in the leader of the Qs. All of that is the same. And that's that. I'll pull up the chart here for you. Same thing. This one's actually got a lot more room to fall before it hits it. So I think we're going to get down here somewhere a little bit closer. But again, we'll find out. Now, as far as individual names, and this is what's going to be important in this market, and this is the difference. When the market is freaking bullish, you can throw darts. Everything mostly is most likely going to be a good call. Most likely everything's a good call. In a bearish market, the stock picking becomes the advantage because it's that it'll be the individual names that have good days. You know, they'll outperform the market, and that's what's really important here. This is where you get paid, is for making the right selections. So there are a couple here that have bucked a trend, that have some relative strength, that have some decent types of setups that I want to highlight in this list. And of course, one's going to be something I have talked about quite a bit, is my good buddy Peloton. I really love this stock. I love the way it is performing, but I also like the story that we have here surrounding Peloton. And that is, when you have COVID and you got people that are going to be scared bejesuses to go back to a gym because of bacteria and they might get the COVID, then, well, I'll tell you what, this makes sense. You know, it makes sense. And this thing is performing well. Now, they had earnings. And the other thing you have to understand about earnings as well, guys, is when you have something that performs this well, that's up, I don't know, a couple 100% it seems like for the year. You have something that's this huge and this big of a movement, you got to hit every mark perfectly. And if you kind of give anybody the jitters in there, the thing sells off. But compared to what the market's done, I mean, look at this thing. It's ready to remount and it's ready to recharge. I think you've got 100 in this freaking stock. You got $100. It's going to be $100 when the market takes a dive. This thing is strong. I want to accumulate it on dips. Any dips I have actually a long-term position, but it's only a tiny one now. I've paired out a little bit on the way up. It's like the best trade I've made, and I don't know, overall, per share, not dollar-wise, but per share gain. Man, love this damn thing. Anyway, Peloton, I like this. I want to keep my eyes on this one here. Also, little baby Neo is not a baby anymore, but Neo, same thing. You can't get this thing to stick downwards, right? You're going to have this money rolling out of Texans and some other names, but you got these ones that have relative strength to where they're performing very well in a market here that isn't doing very good whatsoever. So you're seeing these rally, both Peloton, both Neo, and they have strength. What does that mean? You've got buyers, premium names take a premium role. Money, where investors allocate money in bear markets, you know, they pull them out of riskier growth type of assets and pull them into more solid performing names. And I think you're seeing that here with Neo and Peloton. I'm not necessarily saying the companies, you know, are maybe the best financially. But anyway, those are two of them there. And maybe I'm going to toss in a little bit of this Cuervo. Let me open it. QRVO, Jose Cuervo here. Not bad. This thing came off the bottoms here, really strong bounce, and it got upgraded. They came out with earnings guidance, increased their guidance. It's a good looking chart. So anyway, guys, here's what I want you to understand, because the thing you have to understand about market corrections, this is what's important. And I can't stress enough importance in them. It amazes me, the thought of a trader, you know, and it's like, you got to think, I was the same way when I started. It's like we all start out, we're kind of freaking dumb. We're done with our thoughts. It's like anybody can make money in a bull market, man. Anybody can make money in a bull market. Everything freaking practically goes up. That's a time in the bull market where you're bitching, oh, I only made 10% on this trade, not 140%. That's kind of what that is. But you got to survive these, because you know, when the market gets a haircut like it did, I'm sure many of you, I'm not judging, because you know, we're all part of this whole thing, but I understand how the process works. Is you start losing money. And you give so much of that back. back, you know. And then there's this other handful out there that automatically, right, they turn into investors. They're like short-term traders, and then all their positions end up underwater, and they make excuses for those positions and go, well, I'm investing now. I was a trader last week, now I'm an investor. What does that mean? It means I'm assed upside down on all of my positions, and I'm making some sort of bag holder quote, you know, conditions for these things. Can't do that, man. Doesn't matter if you hold it for long, that's fine, but that's not how you make short-term profits. If your goal is to make big bang trading stocks, that's not how it's done. That is not how it is done. So to recap, here's what I want you to do. The premium's going to be on individual names. It's going to be the names that you buy, and it can rotate. Sometimes you're going to have stocks that are going to be upgraded during the week that we don't know about yet. Maybe sometimes they try an Nvidia, or maybe try an Apple, or a Facebook, or whatever it might be. There's going to be those individual names that get upgraded. They're going to have one hot day, and that's it. They're not going to be longer-term trades. You're going to have to shorten your time horizon, lower your position sizes. You have to do that because the volatility is 10 times larger, and you're just going to get shaken out of everything. And again, the names, it's about the individual names. Sometimes the market will be down, and you know, it's going to be only a couple of stocks that are going to be green, and you're going to have to be in those stocks. That's why maybe it's important to be in the right room where you can get this kind of information. Or also, there will be some 1 or 2 knockoff days where the market will be bullish. Even in market corrections, there are still bullish days. You see, while this Cuervo or something was being sold off, there's still individual days where you got some big names. So I'm looking at NEO, I'm looking at Peloton, and I'm looking at Cuervo. I like these just the way they have relative strength. That obviously could change anytime. Could change at any time. And then, of course, I'll just nitpick through some individual names as the week rolls on. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you very much for watching this edition of Market Mutterings. Tips, comments, suggestions, quarrels, or complaints, send them to me, man. Send them to me. I hope you guys are doing good. And as always, if you need help, you know how to reach out to me. Feel free to trade with me. Look forward to working with you guys. As always, trade well. Talk to you next week. Take care.